There's a particular kind of silence that doesn't feel like silence at all. It feels like screaming. It's the silence between text messages stretched into days, the silence where good morning used to live, the silence of a 3 a.m. bed that's still empty on his side, even though you stopped checking the phone hours ago. If you know this silence, if you've lived inside it, then you already know what I'm about to tell you. What happened at 3 a.m. will change everything you thought you understood about avoidant behavior, about why he pulled away, about what it really means when someone who claimed to care suddenly goes cold. But before I get there, I need you to understand something brutal and simple and true. He didn't stop loving you. He stopped being able to hold what he felt for you without drowning in it. And those two things look identical from the outside, but they are nothing alike. Let me take you inside this for a moment. Imagine you're her. Imagine you send a message on a Tuesday afternoon that says something small and warm, something like, thinking about you, or, I had a dream about us last night. You send it, and you move on with your day, because it felt easy. It felt good. It felt like the kind of thing a person you love would want to receive. And then the hours start passing. No reply. You tell yourself he's busy. You tell yourself he'll respond when he can. You look at your phone 11 times over the next 4 hours, and nothing. The evening comes, and still nothing. So you send another message, something lighter, something that gives him an easy out. How was your day? And you wait. And you wait. And you watch the screen like it owes you something it can't give. And the thing that happens inside you is this: a slow, creeping terror that starts in your stomach and climbs up into your chest. Your brain starts running scenarios. Did I say something wrong? Is he upset with me? Is there someone else? Did I do something? Did I need too much? Was I too much? Your nervous system, which is wired for connection, which is wired to detect abandonment the way a smoke detector detects smoke, begins sounding its alarm. Cortisol floods your system. Your amygdala, that ancient part of your brain that remembers every rejection you've ever experienced, starts firing. Your body does not know the difference between ancient rejection and modern rejection. Your body thinks you're being left behind in the savannah, and it panics. So you do what anyone does when they're panicking. You reach out again. Maybe this time you ask if everything is okay. Maybe this time your message carries a little edge of the fear you're feeling, even though you're trying to hide it. And what does he do? He takes 3 days to respond. 3 days of silence. And when he finally writes back, it's something short and flat and almost hostile in its casualness. Sorry, been busy. Everything fine. And you read those words and you feel something crack inside you. Because you know in your body that this is not how someone talks to a person they still want. Here's where you have to stop and look at the pattern clearly. Because what you've been doing is catastrophizing. You've been interpreting his withdrawal as evidence of indifference. You've been telling yourself a story that ends with him not caring, not loving you enough, choosing to leave you in silence. And I understand why you believe that story. It makes a kind of sense from the outside. But it is wrong. And more importantly, believing it is keeping you trapped in a cycle that is destroying you. The neuroscience here matters, so let me give you just enough of it. When an avoidant person feels intense emotion, when they feel love, when they feel connection, when they feel the kind of closeness that should be wonderful, something in their nervous system misfires. Their brain experiences connection as threat. Not consciously, not deliberately, but neurologically. The same dopamine pathways that make most people feel joy and bonding in intimacy trigger in them a kind of overwhelm. Their system reads closeness as loss of self. It reads your needs as demands. It reads your vulnerability as weight they cannot carry. And so, they do the only thing they know how to do. They pull away. This is not a choice they're making with clear eyes. This is not a strategy. This is a nervous system event. Their prefrontal cortex, which is supposed to regulate emotion and help them stay present, goes offline under stress. They are literally not capable, in those moments of overwhelm, of sitting with what they feel for you without dissociating from it. So they disappear. They go silent. They find reasons to be busy, to be distant, to need space. And they tell themselves they need space, and they believe it, because they cannot feel the truth of what they're doing while they're doing it. Now, let me tell you what happened at 3 a.m. She had been living in that silence for months. Months. Not days. Months. Messages that went unanswered for a week. Calls that went to voicemail. Plans canceled, then rescheduled, then canceled again. He had become a ghost, who occasionally sent a text to let her know he was still alive, still technically in the relationship, still technically hers. And she had done what you would do, what you have done. She had stayed. She had held on. She had told herself that if she just loved him hard enough, if she just stayed patient enough, if she just proved she was not too much, he would come back to her. She had restructured her entire inner world around the hope of his return. But something happened at 3 a.m. on a Thursday night. She woke up in the dark, and she reached for her phone, not because she was checking for his message. She had stopped doing that weeks ago, had learned to stop the hope from reaching her fingers, but just out of habit, out of that autonomic pull that doesn't care what you've decided intellectually. And she saw something she didn't expect. A text from him, sent at 3:17 a.m., and it said this: "I can't stop thinking about you. I don't know why I'm like this. I know I've been distant, and I know I don't have an excuse, and I know I don't deserve you to still be there, but I'm asking anyway. Are you still there?" She stared at that message for a long time. She read it 4 times. She felt something crack open in her chest, but it wasn't the crack of hope. It was the crack of recognition. She had been waiting for this. Not because she wanted him to finally reach out, but because she finally understood what it meant. He had been gone because he was drowning, not because he had stopped loving her. He had been silent because the feeling was too big, not because the feeling was gone. And he reached her at 3 a.m. because that's when the defenses are down. That's when the conscious mind is quiet and the deeper truth slips through. He didn't plan that message. He didn't rehearse it. He sent it from somewhere beneath all the walls he had built between himself and his own heart. Now, here's what you need to understand about this moment, because this is the moment that changes everything. This is the moment where the power dynamic flips, if you know how to hold it. She could have responded the way she had responded to every other moment of contact over those months. She could have poured herself into a reply full of relief and need and longing. She could have told him how much she missed him, how hurt she was, how she had stayed despite everything, how she forgave him. She could have done exactly what every part of her was screaming to do. But she didn't. She put the phone down. Not out of spite, not out of games, but because she finally understood something that he did not yet know. She had been the one holding on so tightly not because she needed him, but because she had forgotten that she didn't. She had been giving him all her power, all her peace, all her sense of self, and she had wrapped it in the language of love. But it wasn't love. It was dependency, and she was about to find out what it felt like to stop. She didn't respond that night. She didn't respond the next morning. She let the silence breathe. She let his message sit there unanswered while she did something she had forgotten how to do. She turned her attention inward. She asked herself what she had been so afraid of. She asked herself what she would do if he never came back. She asked herself what she actually wanted, beneath all the desperation and the need and the fear of being alone. And what she found was this. She had been terrified not of losing him, but of losing the version of herself that existed in relation to him. She had let her self-worth dissolve into his attention, his presence, his responsiveness. When he went silent, she went silent inside. Her world had narrowed to the size of a phone screen. She had become small in order to survive his withdrawal, and she had mistaken that smallness for love. When she finally responded 2 days later, it wasn't a novel, it wasn't a confession, it wasn't a plea. It was this. I'm here, but I need you to understand something. I've been here the whole time, and I'm not going anywhere. But I also need you to know that I found myself again in the silence you left, and I'm not giving that back. He called her within the hour, and here's what happened on that call. He cried. Not from guilt, not from manipulation, but from something she had never heard from him before. Relief. The relief of being seen clearly. The relief of someone finally understanding that he had not been rejecting her, he had been rejecting himself. That his silence was not a choice, but a wound. That he had been drowning, and she had been trying to save him by drowning alongside him, and she had just shown him a different way. But here's the warning I need to give you now. Because the story I just told you is not a template for manipulation. It is not a technique to make someone chase you, to make someone suddenly realize your value. The danger is that you will hear this and think, if I just go quiet enough, if I just stop responding, he will have his 3 a.m. moment. And if you think that, you will have missed the entire point. The point is not to change his behavior. The point is not to trick him into missing you. The point is not to create a scenario where you win and he loses, where you finally feel powerful because you made him feel what you felt. The point is to discover that your power was never outside of you, that the silence you were using to try to get him back was the same silence you needed to find yourself. That the chasing you were doing was not keeping him, it was losing you. Here is the transformation that has to happen inside you if any of this is going to matter. You have to stop needing him to come back in order to feel whole. You have to stop using his return as proof of your worth. You have to find a way to hold the door open for connection without using connection as a life support system for your sense of self. You have to learn to be the one who is whole first, not the one who is seeking completion. And I know how hard that is. I know because your nervous system is screaming at you right now that alone is dangerous, that alone is death, that you need to cling to the possibility of him in order to survive. I know because the pain of being left behind is more activating than almost anything else you will ever feel. But I also know this. You have survived every single moment of silence he has put you through. You have survived the uncertainty. You have survived the confusion. You have survived the middle of the night when you woke up and reached for a response that wasn't there. You survived it. You are still here. That means you are stronger than you think. The identity shift I'm asking you to make is this. Stop being the woman who is waiting by the phone. Stop being the woman who interprets his silence as evidence of your inadequacy. Stop being the woman who gives away her peace in exchange for the possibility of his presence. Become instead the woman who knows her own worth so deeply that she can hold space for a man's confusion without dissolving inside it. Become the woman who can say, I love you, and I also love myself. And I will not abandon myself in order to keep you. Become the woman who can sit in silence and find not absence, but herself. Because here is what he was trying to show you without knowing how to say it. He was overwhelmed by the intensity of what he felt for you. He pulled away not because the feeling was small, but because the feeling was so big, it broke something in him. And the way he showed you that, through silence, through distance, through all the things that felt like rejection, was not the right way. But it was the only way he knew. And if you can hold that understanding without losing yourself in it, you will have access to something most people never find. The ability to love someone with a full nervous system, without needing them to save you, without making them responsible for your completeness. But you cannot get there by chasing him. You can only get there by turning around, by finding the part of yourself you left behind while you were waiting for him to come back, by rebuilding your inner world from the ground up, brick by brick, so that no silence, not even the silence of months, can shake the foundation of who you are. You are not too much. You have never been too much. You are exactly the right amount of feeling, the right amount of wanting, the right amount of depth. And whoever made you feel otherwise was telling you their own limitations, not your truth. So if you're sitting in that 3 a.m. silence right now, if you're reading this because you're the one who sent that message and never got a reply, I want you to hear me. You are not waiting for him anymore. You are not the woman who survives on crumbs of his attention. You are the woman who knows that she deserves presence, consistency, someone who can meet her in the light and in the dark without running. And if he can't be that person, if he keeps showing you through his silence that he doesn't have the capacity to stay, then you have the power to choose yourself. Not out of anger, not out of punishment, but out of a deep and unshakable knowing that you are worth more than the silence you're living in. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a different one. One where you are not chasing, not waiting, not dissolving. One where you are whole and you are free. And the people who can meet you in that wholeness will feel lucky to be there. You are that person. You always have been. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to see it is the moment everything changes.